sound of clashing metal, a guttural roar, and heavy breathing. The Goblin King was on his last legs, or so we thought. He was a mess, scratched, bruised, his health bar practically blinking red. Sinju and I had him cornered. We'd already taken down a freaking fire and ice dragon to get here. A goblin monarch wasn't going to stop us. But just when we were about to land the final blow, he lets out this ear-splitting roar. "Goblin troop!" Suddenly, from the inky shadows of the cavern, 6 smaller goblins scrambled out. They were like miniature but equally ugly, versions of the king, each one crackling with a portion of his strength. They dashed straight for us, a green, snarling wave of death. Lin, always the quick thinker, slammed his palm against the damp cave wall. "Stone prison," he yelled. The very floor beneath the goblins erupted, stone pillars shooting up like jagged teeth, trapping the little monsters in a makeshift cage. They screeched and clawed at the rock, but they were stuck. That was my cue. "Lightning spray," I roared, throwing my hand forward. 5 searing bolts of blue lightning shot from my fingertips, each one finding its mark, piercing a goblin's heart. They sizzled and dropped, their borrowed power vanishing into dust. "That's nothing," we both shouted in unison, turning our attention back to the king. But he was laughing, a deep, chilling laugh that echoed through the chamber. "That's what I wanted you to do," he cackled. As we watched in horror, the life force from his fallen minions flowed back into him. His wounds started to close, the bruises faded. He was healing. "I want to have fun all day," he sneered, his strength returning. This was going to be a long fight. Meanwhile, miles away, back at the entrance to the Blackrot Caverns, a kingdom patroller was losing his mind. You could spot him a mile off. Fiery red hair, piercing yellow eyes, and a uniform adorned with skulls. He was lecturing a group of nervous-looking adventurer candidates. "Are you all idiots?" he spat, pointing a gauntleted finger toward the cave. "Why would you let a couple of noobs go into the Goblin King's lair? They're as good as dead. You just signed their death warrants." Little did he know these noobs were putting up one hell of a fight. Back in the throne room, we'd done it again. We'd hammered the Goblin King with everything we had, focusing on lightning attacks. He was a burnt, bruised wreck, even worse than before. His skin was charred and he was panting, struggling to stand. "We have to finish this now," Lin said, his voice strained. I just nodded, channeling all my remaining energy. We both rushed him. There would be no more tricks, no more healing. This was the end. The Goblin King, in a last-ditch effort, crossed his massive arms to block. Lin's fire and ice sword came down in a shimmering arc. There was a sickening crack as the blade sliced clean through the king's forearms, and then shattered. The legendary sword was broken, but it wasn't in vain. The impact had shattered his guard completely, leaving him wide open. That was my moment. I leaped into the air, arcs of lightning dancing around me. "Blue eclipse, ×2!" I screamed, hurling 2 massive bolts of pure energy. The first one struck him dead in the chest, making him roar in agony. The second slammed into his leg, the force of it dropping him to one knee. He was down, but not out. Before he could even think of getting up, Lin smacked both his hands flat on the ground. Stone pillar. A huge slab of rock erupted from the floor directly under the king's chin. The impact was brutal, snapping his head back and sending him flying, finally crashing to the ground with a deafening thud. Silence. The only sound was our own ragged breathing. We stood over his unmoving body, smoke rising from his charred form. We looked at each other, exhausted but victorious. "It's finished," we said.